There are some franchises out there that have always deserved sequels, whether they were good or bad. Toy Story, Jurassic Park, Star Wars, and now, 23 years later, a sequel to a much beloved British classic, Chicken Run 2, is finally here. Chicken Run and Aardman are British staples. As a person of British descent, I have always felt very proud of Aardman and what they offer to the animation market. Aardman films will always hold a very special place in my heart, and I do think all of their films are never really unintentionally bad. But Chicken Run 2, Dawn of the Nugget, it gets pretty darn close. Hi there, it's me, the Average Critic, and let's talk about Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget, a film that came too late. So Chicken Run 2 takes place quite literally after the first film, and already it looks amazing. Aardman always do a wonderful job at animating their films, stop motion is always going to stand out from its rivals like Disney and Pixar, and for good reason. The colours and the characters are all vibrant, and they all naturally stand out. But let's talk about those characters, or rather, the people who voiced those characters. A very small portion of the actors returned to reprise their roles. Naturally, Mel Gibson did not return to voice Rocky, as he has become somewhat of a controversial actor at the moment. I'm not really going into any more detail on that. But his replacement, Zachary Levi, does a pretty good job at giving us the essence of what the character of Rocky is. But Rocky is very much put to one side in this movie, considering how funny his character is in the first film. In the first movie, Rocky very much balances well off Ginger because she is a much more serious character, as the topic that revolves around her is, of course, very serious, making his character very entertaining because of the back and forth between these two characters. The problem is, in this film, they are separated for a good chunk of the film, and Rocky feels way more like a bumbling idiot father who is constantly getting into trouble. Rocky is very similar to something like Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. In the first film, he is charismatic, confident, and can improvise his way out of any situation, compared to its sequels where the character just becomes a bumbling idiot who seems to get out of situations for sheer dumb luck.
For sheer dumb luck.
The original voice actor for Ginger, Julia Sawala, did not return due to saying her voice did not sound as it did in the original film. She is now replaced by Tandy Wayne Newton, who, as we know, is a wonderful actress, but a wonderful voice actress, she is not. She does an average job at giving the character some depth. Sometimes she sounds like Ginger, sometimes she doesn't. I understand it's not fair to compare because they aren't the same voice actor, but if you aren't going to try and replicate the same voice, then at least put some of your own spin and style into the character. She just sounds like she's reading the lines off a script with barely any emphasis at all. It seems like another good case of a very good actor who thinks voice acting is easy. You could say it's just the nostalgia for the old film, but the new voice actors for Nick, Fowler, and Rocky are all doing a very good job. We have seen voice actors get replaced many times, usually when the original voice actor passes away, and characters like Slinky from Toy Story, who are usually just supporting characters, but with this film, just due to the fact that Ginger is still a very important character, I can't help but feel that they should have just left this franchise alone because they don't have half the cast return. Smaller characters who perhaps aren't as noticeable are fine, but I do think if you can't get most of the original cast back, then simply write new characters. Hi there guys, I kinda just wanted to talk face to face about this next part because we get introduced to a new character in this film called Frizzle. Now, Frizzle has a Scouse accent. If you're not from the UK and you don't know what that means, it means you're from a place called Liverpool, which is here. Now, in the UK, there are accents that are generally viewed as nicer ones than others. For the most part, the Liverpool accent is not really seen as a nice accent. It's very aggressive, it's very strong, and we have seen in times where, in famous media, they have made accents more popular. You know, a show like Peaky Blinders, for instance, you know, that did wonders for the Brummie accent. It did that massively well. This film, however, it doesn't do anything good for the Scouse accent. Frizzle is just very odd and an unfunny character. Her voice is not nice on the ears, but doubtless of that, she doesn't do anything for the narrative. And you can tell that they just thought this voice is funny when, no offense, it's really not. It's just annoying. Either way, it's doing nothing for my Scouse friends out there. Hell, most of the humor comes from other characters, so I don't understand where this character sort of came from. One problem you have is when a sequel is done 23 years later, is it generally moves with the culture of more modern times. Nothing follows this more than the music. The original score for Chicken Run is a very traditional classical film score, and while there are snippets of the original score that pop in this film, it feels like they are afraid to use it for the fear of younger audiences not liking it. They even have one random pop song sung by Paloma Faith singing My Sweet Baby, which feels way out of place for this film. It's right at the start, and it just feels like the producers were saying you have to get a modern song in to hook the kids, whereas they should know that kids who have watched the original film love the score for that movie. Kids can like classical music, guys. So when the original score does pop up, it is incredibly subtle and it doesn't feel like they are committing to it, which is kind of sad because they did get one of the two composers who composed the last film. I do think the plot of this film is actually surprisingly good. It's funny to see Mrs. Tweedy again. I like the idea of Ginger's daughter wanting freedom and not being controlled by her parents, and given the first film how Ginger is literally wanting freedom in that film, carrying it on into the daughter is a very clever concept, very similar to something like Finding Nemo. But the script seems to fall very flat. When you think about how good the dialogue is in the original movie, it makes it all the worse in this film because Aardman are known for having some of the most funny and quippy dialogue in their films. Hell, that was one of the things that put them on the map with Wallace and Gromit. The quick and downright stereotypical British humour, which this company is massively known for. But considering this film isn't getting a theatrical release but being released as a Netflix movie, probably is the smallest red flag. I mean, the first movie is a monumentally perfect film. It was their first feature-length movie, and it paved the way for stop-motion films. So the fact that this film never really came to theatres is really disappointing, doubtless of how I feel about it. The first film, despite being incredibly funny, has always had a very grounded, serious style, being that it was massively inspired by The Great Escape. Its sequel feels way more colourful and light-hearted, and while there is nothing wrong with having a much more family-friendly style, I think if this film was at least funnier, then I wouldn't mind as much. But this film needed more weight about Ginger's daughter wanting freedom, and that reflecting onto Ginger herself. If it went way more into this topic, the humour would balance itself out very well, and the laughs will stick a bit more because of the serious topics in the background. The jokes in this film come and go, making you chuckle rather than seriously laughing, which is the biggest shame because Aardman are known for making me laugh so hard in the films they make. For the record, this film isn't necessarily bad. I mean, aside from Frizzle, I find myself enjoying the story to a small degree. The animation is the best it's ever been, and it's always going to be. I've always enjoyed Aardman movies, and a lot of them have such a special place in my heart. But it feels like this film is 10 years too late. I do think if this film was done 10, 15 years earlier, most of the original cast could have returned, new characters would have been cast a lot better, and it wouldn't feel like another run-of-the-mill animated movie that just sits on a shelf and gets forgotten about. So after all that, it gets my professional rating of 5 out of 10. And it gets my personal rating of 4 out of 10. I think the average person will enjoy this movie, but even then, I think this film is something you watch once and never again, which is a shame because I frequently re-watch Wallace and Gromit, Pirates and an Adventure with Scientist, and of course, the original Chicken Run. So thank you for joining me in this video. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of Chicken Run 2. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you like animation films just as much as I do. Also, this will be my last video of the year of 2023, so have a wonderful Christmas and a great New Year, everyone. I am also planning on moving house very soon, so January is going to be when I return, but it's going to be a bit up in the air when I do, guys, but I will let you know on my social media platforms so you can follow me right there. But have a great New Year and Christmas, everyone. 2023 has been a very interesting year. It's certainly been an amazing time for this channel. I want to say thank you to you guys, and I will see you all in the next one.